we sell turf, but our motto is get your Saturdays back. So we're selling more of a lifestyle than an actual product, because to us, it's really about what is your life going to be like once you have turf installed. That's what we want to dream about with our clients and even our franchisee owners is, what do you want your Saturdays to look like? Do you want it to look like, mowing your yard and being away from your family and, being out in the heat for 3 hours? Or do you want it to be, any given day, any given evening, you can go to your backyard and hang out with your kids, hang out with your wife?
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of FranCoach's Franchisee 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of FranCoach and your podcast host. Today, we are going to welcome in one of our franchise partners. This is a fun one to talk about. Newer brand, home service, which means low overhead, lower investment, faster ramp up. This is a project-based brand with a big ticket item, so even easier to ramp up. And it's one that has really very little competition out there. There aren't many companies that do this, franchise or otherwise. So you really got a super, super great low competition factor with this as well. So that's who we're going to talk about. First, a quick reminder, as always, of who we are. FranCoach is the premier franchise consulting firm. Our number one goal is to properly educate people on franchise ownership to help them determine if this is for them. We don't sell anything. We are not here for the brands. We are here for you. We're going to help you determine if you should own one. And then if so, what is the best franchise for you? Franchise ownership is the most individualized and personalized thing out there. It's what's best for you. There's no top franchise. There's no hottest thing. None of those things, folks. It's all about you. Well, today it's all about our brand, but maybe that's something we look at for you down the road. So let's get to our guests. All right. Hey, we are back with our guests, plural, today. This brand is so awesome. We need two people to come talk to us about it. And we have the founder of Waterloo Turf, Lance Ingram, and their CEO, Tim Lovett. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
You guys are about to be on the hot seat, man. We're not messing around. There's usually going to be some tears shed at some point during this. The questions are so hard hitting. But I like to sucker you in at the beginning and talk about everybody's story and franchising is such a people business. But Lance, I'm going to start with you. We start with you. You're the founder. Of course, that's where we're going to start. Back us up a little bit. How did Waterloo Turf come to be? Give us that origin story, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's hot seat. Sounds like just another normal Thursday for us. So, how Waterloo started. So I started Waterloo Turf in 2021, and I had previous turf experience dating back to 2016 with helping start a separate turf company upon graduating college. So 2016, I graduated college, helped start a separate turf company, and ran that up until about 2018. And then I kind of essentially just got lured into the corporate world. Turf had kind of been just my first big boy job. And I saw all my friends, out in the corporate space, traveling, events, everything that goes along with that. And I just thought to myself, that sounds cool. I want to try that out. And so I sold off the ownership I had and I went into the medical device world for a couple of years. And I quickly realized that, being your own boss is actually a lot more fun than having a boss. And so it didn't take me long to realize that. And there was one day in particular, part of my territory during my medical device days was in Abilene, Texas, which is about 3.5 hours away from Austin. And I was having to make a decent amount of just day trips out to Abilene for 7 a.m. surgeries. So you're leaving at, 3 a.m. Austin, getting back at 11:30 at night. And there was one day in particular, I was driving back and I just kind of started to think to myself, this just isn't it. I saw from colleagues and people that had kind of made it in the medical space what they had to sacrifice to get to that point. And a lot of it had to do with, sacrifice with their family, their friends, their just social life, in order to get that financial stability that they were chasing. And for me, those weren't things I wanted to sacrifice. And so essentially I just made the decision on the drive back from Abilene that I wanted to get back into turf. It was something that I liked. I never thought I'd be back in the turf space when I left it. It was never this like end goal to come back, but just, business ownership is just a lot more fun than the alternative. So it was actually the same time that I was getting married. And so I quit my stable job for starting Waterloo Turf, and that was in 2021. And then after a few years of running Waterloo on my own, I knew I wanted to expand. It was just a matter of when and who with. And in 2024, I had a buddy of mine that reached out, and he lived in San Antonio and was interested in, starting Waterloo. He had kind of been following along with the story. And so we expanded to San Antonio in 2024. And then around middle of 2024, San Antonio was up on its feet. It was validating what I had done here in Austin, and I had started to get the itch again of, I want to continue to grow this thing. It was just a matter of how do I want to grow it? So it was, do I want to continue to take this corporately and just plant Waterloos, across Texas and then beyond? Or do I want to go the franchising route, which I didn't really know too much about beyond McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And so it was the right time, because when I was trying to figure out how I wanted to expand and where I wanted to go was the same time that Timmy and I met. And we met through our church. We joined the same small group. And for the first couple of months, it was truly just like showing up at him and his wife's house on Monday night and, hanging out, but not really getting to know what each other does and who each other are. And there was one night in particular where we moved it outside of the house and took the small group to a pub with a couple other couples in our group. And we started talking a little bit more about what do you do, this and that. And that's when I found out he was in franchising. I was curious about franchising. I was obviously in turf. He was looking for a turf company, had been interested in turf for a bit. And so that's kind of how Waterloo Turf franchising essentially came about and what's led us to here. And I know Timmy can kind of explain a little bit more on his end of, when that conversation happened and everything that's happened since.
Yeah. And I want to hear that, Lance. I'm still kind of going back to like the leap of faith your wife took. Not only did she marry you, she married you while you were quitting a job and jumping into starting a business from scratch. So clearly you must be fantastic at sales. So to pull that one off. So good work. Awesome. So cool. So Tim, give us a little of your scoop with this.
Yeah, so my background was more on the franchising side. So I was a part of a home services franchise platform, and I was the operations executive there, ran corporate locations, brand marketing, coaching team, the launching, the training, pretty much everything outside of running franchise development over there for the brand. And while I was there, I got really interested in turf. As I started to look into artificial turf, there were just a lot of things to really like about it. Primarily, there's no other national turf brand out there as there are in, roofing, flooring, etc. But I saw turf as really this emerging home services market that had all of these legislative tailwinds around it, from water conservation and consumer preferences. And there's just not another national brand out there doing installation and maintenance. If you look into the industry, it's primarily local landscapers that we're competing against, and then a couple of smaller, I would say, regional players that are in turf. And so I started to go out looking for an artificial turf company that I could franchise. And I spent about a year looking at quite a few different artificial turf companies. And I got to really understand what I wanted in a company to franchise. And, a lot of the companies and founders that I spoke to that were in artificial turf, a lot of them were really good at digital marketing, but actually didn't know anything about turf. They were more just marketing agencies with a turf wrapper around them. Yeah. Or they kind of came from this private equity background, and they were mostly interested in franchising because it would mean a lot of wealth for them if it went well. And when I got to know Lance, we were at this pub in Austin, and, the vibes in this pub are great. The food is kind of average, and the beer is just beer. But, we were sitting there talking, and, he said that I run a turf company. And I was, okay, I'm interested. I'm looking into this and asking him questions. And just as Lance and I got to know each other more, we just found that we were completely values aligned. And when Lance and I talked, it was more about Lance had left this corporate job. He now has financial freedom. He now has time freedom, and he wanted to give other people the type of life that he was living. And so to me, it just felt like a great partnership. What we did from there is we popped open the hood on each other, did some diligence, and quickly put our partnership together to go franchise Waterloo Turf. And really, before we went out and franchise, kind of the last step for us was raising capital. And so we went out to some of the most strategic franchise investors in the space, raise capital for Waterloo Turf so that we could invest in the infrastructure and the support team before we ever launched franchising.
Yeah, which is, again, is super key, right? And being able, because it's one thing to get it's hard enough to get the franchise owners, right? That's the true great fit. But the whole point of the franchise is you got to be able to train them and support them so they can be successful. And the fact that you guys put the support piece first is really kudos to you, because as we all know, there are some brands out there that take the other approach and hope it works out versus planning for the success. So super cool. So we're really, but probably a year or so into this being a franchise, correct? Right about that?
I think we are 9 months in. Yeah, 9
okay.
months.
Okay. So we've popped out the baby. We're ready to go at this point. So the really simple stuff. So name of the brand is Waterloo Turf. We do turf. I want to talk about all the different types because there is a lot. Why Waterloo?
Yeah, it's a good question. So a little fun fact is obviously founded it in Austin, Texas. The original name for Austin, Texas was actually Waterloo, Texas.
Really? Okay. I did not. I just learned something new right there.
And it's just it's a fun name. It's fun to say. So, yeah.
Excellent. Okay. And then talk a little bit from a consumer standpoint. One, who is the customer? And then there's a good chunk of offerings with this. So kind of walk us through what that looks like.
Yeah. Our customer is, it's really anybody. Obviously, the way we kind of describe it and what we believe is we sell turf, but our motto is get your Saturdays back. So for us, it's really, we're selling more of a lifestyle than an actual product. Because to us, it's really about what is your life going to be like once you have turf installed. That's what we want to dream about with our clients and even our franchisee owners is, what do you want your Saturdays to look like? Do you want it to look like, mowing your yard and being away from your family and, being out in the heat for 3 hours? Or do you want it to be, any given day, any given evening, you can go to your backyard and hang out with your kids, hang out with your wife, have your friends over the yard? Or did I weed it earlier? Is it presentable? It's always okay. And it's always looking good. So, for us, it's really anybody that wants to get their time back. Anybody that wants to obviously get some of their costs back, because the average ROI on turf versus maintenance with sod is around 5 years. The turf lifespan is typically at least 15 years with given, maintenance and freshen up and all that good stuff. So that's kind of for us, who our clients are. It ranges from 23-year-olds straight out of college to 70-year-olds that are just like, I love it. I want to let my dog out and let him be able to run freely and come back inside without tracking mud in. So
right. Yeah,
I was going to say
that pet side of things, the kid side of things. I know there's even like putting greens, which you guys open one of these. Well, it's not going to be where I live in Arizona, but where I live in Florida, perhaps. Probably be a customer of that because that's super cool as well. My house in Arizona, I bought this brand new a year and a half ago. And just what you talked about, Lance, was like my last house had a lot of grass, or the illusion of grass, kind of, I think, or the attempt at grass. And it was a pain in the ass. And me doing it, and as much as I wanted to like torture my kid and make him go out and do it, because I had that same torture as a kid, the new house has turf. And no matter what's going on with the weather, how little I'm here, most I'm here, whatever, I look outside and it's nice and it's pretty and it's green and clean and all of those things. And just like, there's the time factor, but I'm gonna tell you, I look out the window and it looks nice. It looks green every single day. Doesn't matter what time of year it is. And I didn't, as a consumer, I didn't realize how much I was going to enjoy just looking outside. Because our last house, that house had a pool, and I'm like, I can look to the pool. If I look past it or around it, I'm going to cringe because it probably wasn't pretty. This always is. So that lifestyle component, and I'm just like, I like the pretty factor, man. It is always nice and green and looks great, which I'm sure you guys hear that from your customers as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, the truth of it is, like you just said, your yard can limit your lifestyle. So again, story that we heard recently from a client was, we were installing turf on a Friday. They had their 6-year-old daughter's birthday that Saturday, and we completed the job Friday. It was good to go for Saturday. Big rainstorm came through that Saturday morning. Had they not had turf installed, the party would have, it would have been postponed or canceled. But because they had turf put in the day before, it didn't matter that it rained that morning because the party was in the afternoon, and they got to go out and use that yard space and have a birthday party as if it had never rained. So
yeah,
it's things like that for us, obviously we love installing turf, and it's cool. It's always cool to see the before and afters, but when you hear real life stories like that just improve people's lives, it's great. It's what it's about.
No, absolutely. And so think now from a business model standpoint, somebody out there as an owner and going, hey, this sounds cool, but geez, I don't know the first thing about turf, which I think there's always that kind of industry like confusion, especially for people who are in the corporate world. How much, if any, does it matter? Do people need to understand turf? Are they out there installing the turf all day long? What are some of the things you're really looking for in an owner?
Yeah, I would say for most of our owners, the way we describe a really good Waterloo Turf franchise owner is they're a team captain. And so a lot of times, some of our franchise owners, they have former athletics background in college, former military, former law enforcement, sales, or an executive at a company. They're used to going out and leading people, and they're used to going out and doing business development for themselves when needed. And so that's really what we like to look for. As far as the turf side, of course, you've got to understand the trade super well. One of the differentiators that we're going to have versus our competition is we want all of our franchise owners to be the turf guy. And so during that first 90 days where we spend, from the time you come on as a franchise owner with us before you're kicking off your first job, is jam-packed with a bunch of turf knowledge that we provide, not only in an operations playbook, but through our turf coaches that we bring on and recruit from other turf companies to coach our franchise owners, as well as in-person training. And then we'll actually go out to a franchise owner's market and help them install turf. So we can get a lot of turf experience within 90 days when we hit it really hard. And that helps people be able to go out and complete projects and be super knowledgeable for customers who do have questions.
Yeah, I think it's just one of the consistently kind of misconceptions about franchising, and usually because people just get it beat over their head in the corporate world is like the industry defines you, and for this, like this is all learnable stuff. This is you guys' baby, and being able to come in and really more than anything, a willingness to learn and follow that plan. You guys can teach the basics of the turf. Because there are some different things, even as from my consumer experience, I'm like, they're showing me the different, like, I just thought turf was turf, man. And then all of a sudden there's different styles, and what's going on out there? Is there a pet, a not pet, kids, whatever. So there's definitely some stuff to learn, but you guys have all of the support, the training, the coaches to be able to help with that. And I'm guessing that never really ends, right? If an owner has a question, a year down the road, there's still going to be a whole slew of people to be able to help them always be able to understand that, correct?
We've got a franchise owner today who's installing for a playground. And so there are some different considerations when you're installing turf in a public playground. And so even just today, we've heard about a turf coach. I mean, he's jumping on FaceTime out there looking at the project and just giving him some pointers.
Talk about how some of the ways in which you guys can support the franchise owners. I would think one of them is just that product of, okay, well, great. I own Waterloo Turf. I'm a franchise owner. Where do I get this stuff from? How do I know where to get it from? What's best? What's the best price? Well, how are some of the things you guys are doing to support their owners on that side of things?
Number one would be what you said. We have national partnerships set up with multiple vendors. So we don't restrict our franchise owners to one turf supplier. We actually like to have redundancies in our supply chain, and we want to look at the highest quality turf over here. We'll approve the suppliers, but ultimately our franchise owners will get to choose who they want to work with locally based on who they like the most, who's giving them, better service, whatever that looks like, whatever product might be pitched best or working best in their market. One thing that all of our franchise owners get that's really new since we started franchising is national pricing with these suppliers. So we can group our buying power. We can leverage our national scale to the place where they're getting better pricing than if they were just starting it on their own. And it's been really even helpful for Lance's business this year. We've been able to, get him much better pricing, even as somebody who was just running a pretty large turf company on his own. So that would be number one. Number two is the support that we give just ongoing. And so I mentioned the turf coaches. One thing that is pretty different for us at Waterloo Turf is our coaches specifically come from the turf world. So the person who is going to be your one-to-one point of contact day in, day out as a franchise owner is not a generalist franchise business person. This is somebody who actually has turf experience on the install and sales side. Typically what we're doing is we're recruiting the number 2 guy at a different turf company and having him come over here to coach our Waterloo Turf franchise owners so that they can hit the ground running. Lastly, we've got a really great tech stack. And so the way that we use technology, especially in our estimating and quoting process, is something that no other turf companies are doing. We've eliminated all of the guesswork out of the estimating process. And it really helps us to show up better for the customer as well as give them better pricing when we're in a competitive situation.
Got it. So again, take really just the guesswork in general out for a franchise owner to come in and follow the plan and utilize those resources, right? So talk a little bit about what we need then to get started. I want to touch on staff separately, but do we need an office? Are we having this warehouse with 1,000 miles worth of turf in there? What does that look like to get started? Because it's actually pretty low overhead at the beginning, correct?
You don't need any warehouse space. You just need a garage or a closet or your car with some space to keep some turf samples. That's really it. So get your turf samples. You bring those things everywhere you go, and then when it comes time to order it, for me locally, there's a handful of distributors that I can work with and place the order. They roll it up. Our guys pick it up, get it to the job site, get it installed.
Yeah, got it. And talk a little bit about the staff, right? Are we, because the owner, it's not a one-man show. The owner's not out there doing all the sales and the marketing and networking and then out there installing the turf. You've got kind of a team that is doing that. Are we hiring them? Do we sub that out? Is it a combination? What does that look like?
Yeah, so if you're an owner operator, you'll be out there doing the sales, project managing, all the things that go with that role. But when it comes to the installation side of things, it's subcontracted labor. So we've got multiple crews that we use. We always say your first crew is not going to be your last crew. Always be interviewing. And so we go out and we find the best crews that we can work with. We partner up with them. And then we just build a really good relationship where we retain them for as long as we can, assuming the work is continuing to be done at a high level.
Right.
And that's kind of just the model that we work with.
Yeah. So it helps keep the overhead very low at the beginning because they're only getting paid when they're doing the work, which is baked into the price. I think subcontractors, whether it's sales, skilled labor, unskilled labor, whatever, the type of labor that gives most people anxiety is subcontractors, right? And I'm like, we just talked about it, Lance, as long as they're doing the quality work, if that's an employee that's not doing well, there are some steps we have to take typically to let them go. If that subcontractor, if they're not cutting it, they're gone, right? But when they're good, these are folks that are good at doing the work. They enjoy doing the work. Usually not all that good at finding it. So I'm guessing even for you, Lance, locally there, your subcontractor crews probably kind of see you a little bit as a meal ticket. Man, this dude Lance can get these jobs. All we have to do is do good work for him and he's going to keep referring us back over to more stuff, right? So it's you got to, it's kind of that fear because I think we think of it as the consumer of man, it's hard to find anybody good. You're going to go, yeah, because they all work for us, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes both ways with the relationship with the subcontractor. It is, a great way to retain a crew is to continue to put work on the schedule at least 5 days a week. I mean, that's a given. But then when it comes to some other details of, remembering their birthday and bringing them a gift card on their birthday, or bringing lunch once or twice a month, things like that. Those are ways to really grow that relationship, because our goal is, we want to work with high quality people doing high quality work, but ultimately we want the crews that we work with to want to work with Waterloo. So when other turf companies come calling them to come and install for them, maybe even for a little bit more price per square foot, they say we're good. We like working with Waterloo. They treat us right. They treat us well. And there's a good relationship there where they want to work with us. So that's ultimately our goal. And it's kind of, it's a two-way street. We've got to treat them the right way, pay them on time. And then obviously they need to provide quality work. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Just getting to know your people, no matter whether they're subcontractors or full-time people, just get to know them. Give a damn about them. Right. And people will work hard for you at that point. For sure. So you founded this in Austin. First kind of other location outside of Austin was, way down, 35 into San Antonio. Now we look around at expanding. Do you see this as just something in the South? Cause there's always those outdoor brands. Sometimes there's also a little bit of a myth that it's not going to work in the North, right? Or there's too much seasonality. How is that going to be for you guys, do you think?
Before I got into artificial turf, I looked at a bunch of turf companies to franchise. And as I was calling around and talking to different owners of different turf companies and learning more about the business, I actually had kind of that same take that, hey, this is probably only going to work in the South and the Southeast. But the reality is, as I found out, was that the two largest turf companies that I have been able to find, the largest one was in Philadelphia and the second largest one was in Columbus, Ohio. And I think most people just don't realize how much work there is for artificial turf out there. So we've seen successful artificial turf companies working California. We have a location in Boise where there are other successful artificial turf companies, as well as New York, Long Island, and further into the Northeast. So we really do believe that there's a lot of room for a national brand to come through and not just do work and installs throughout the South, but be able to also provide quality work and solutions for homeowners and business owners in the Midwest and Northeast as well.
Yeah. And Tim, you've been in franchising a while. Like the home service brands that are outdoors tend to do really well in the North, even though you may not think so.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, especially for artificial turf, you're competing against local landscapers, especially in the Midwest and in the Northeast. So one benefit in artificial turf that we have is, again, there's not another national brand, but there really aren't even any regional brands in the Midwest and Northeast. And so, we've seen some of these companies that they're just single locations and they're pretty big doing artificial turf, and maybe they're doing some landscaping as well. But I think it's a great opportunity, especially in those markets, for somebody who, might be a little bit more B2B minded, because there will be an off season residentially. But that's when a lot of really great installs are going to happen on the commercial facility side.
Yeah. And there's more of a premium to be outside in the North too, right? So you talk about, Lance, you talk about that lifestyle piece. I only have so much time to be outside. I want to be able to get outside. I don't want to have to mow the dang lawn. I want to be outside. Now, all of a sudden we got the turf. We don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's, like I said, that's our goal. We're selling lifestyle, dreaming with clients. What could their Saturdays be like? Not just, hey, let's replace your lawn. It's a lot more than that.
Yeah. No, I love it. What are we missing that we haven't talked about for Waterloo Turf? Like, man, we got to make sure everybody knows this. What are we missing?
It's a fun brand. Obviously, we like it. We've got a lot of awesome franchisee owners that are in the system right now. So it's just continuing to grow with great people. We do say no to quite a bit of people because we are looking for specific character, personality, quality traits. So we're excited about where it's at. We're excited about where it's going. And we just want to make sure that, we get the right people in the system.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, what are we missing?
One of the things that I think we've seen from franchise owners in our system is that the people who do really well in our system. And, you can build a really big business in artificial turf, because you also have to remember that this is a high average job ticket. This is not kind of like a quick carpet clean or something like that, where it's going to come out and you're going to net, you're going to make $100 and maybe net less than that. This is a really high average job ticket where you can turn around the project quickly and get cash through the door quickly as well. So the people who are willing to come in and really hit the ground running, I think, have done really well in our brand. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's who we see continue really well.
Yeah. Are you guys okay sharing what the average ticket is?
Yeah, you'll see within the industry residentially that the average job size is $10,000. And then on the commercial side, there's not an average job size, because these can be ginormous.
Right. So when you think of that too, like again, I think on our side, you guys get the straightforward part of the process, talking to a candidate. We get all the behind the scenes stuff of what's freaking them out, right? And like, oh gosh, the competition, or how many people are really going to want turf. And even if it's residential and it's $10,000 an average ticket, it's not like Tim, like you mentioned, this isn't some, $100 a job thing where you need large volume. You don't need that many job. I know you're going to want all your owners doing more than one a week, but one a week is pretty good money, right? From that standpoint. So again, you don't have to have every house in your territory with turf, but I would also assume, and Lance, probably more from your side of running this for a while there in Austin, you do somebody's house, they love it. How often are you getting a referral from one of their friends or neighbors down the road going like, man, Bob's out, he's kicking my ass in golf because he's practicing more. I'm out here mowing the grass and my handicap isn't any good. Like, how often are you seeing some of the kind of the referrals from those happy customers?
Yeah, all the time. It's a huge, huge part of our business is the word of mouth side of things. So, people look at turf and they're like, oh, it's a one-time thing. It's a one-time sell. There's no repeat to it. And there is, obviously we have the Fresh and Clean program, but I would even consider, to us, every install has the potential to be 10 new installs. Yeah. The spider web effect happens. And so that goes, turf is going to be noticed, whether it's good or whether it's bad. Obviously, we want to be on the good side of things. But the way I always describe it is, compared to other home service goods, say you have, Tim, you have some gutters installed and you have some people come over for dinner. Your friends aren't going to walk up and be like, dude, gutters.
Those are the best gutters I've ever seen.
Right, man, who did those for you?
Right.
But the thing with turf is it's going to be noticed. And so we know that. And obviously, regardless, we want to do quality of work. But it just kind of takes it to another level when the work you put in someone's yard is going to be seen. It's going to be asked about. And ultimately, their friends are going to be wanting a bid as well.
Yeah. Lance, actually, when I go over to people's houses, I bring a ladder and I climb up and I check the gutters to see whether, probably why I never get invited back.
I'll have to use a different example then.
But I do want to hit one more thing that we kind of forgot about, and I don't want to overlook it because it's key, is the maintenance side, right? So because you guys have some kind of packages and services you do, but talk about what that's like. What's that even mean from a turf standpoint?
Yeah, so turf for a long time has been sold as it's maintenance free. Once it's installed, it's maintenance free. I mean, the reality of it's low maintenance. So it's by no means going to be the same amount of time and effort as your standard lawn is. But if you want your synthetic grass lawn to perform, for 15 plus years, the way it looks on day one, periodically, quarterly, throughout the year, depending on the foot traffic and wear and tear and whatnot, it's advised to have some type of upkeep on it. So for us, it's the Fresh and Clean program where we can come out, we can power broom it, we can re-infill it as needed. And the goal is just to get those blades standing tall again, make sure they're supported, especially in those high foot traffic areas, for the blades, ultimately become broken and flat and matted. So it's something we offer. It's recommended. And we've seen a lot of good things come along with that program.
I think the other thing that we've seen with the Fresh and Clean, which has been great, is, other turf installation companies, even if they're kind of a regional competitor, not just a landscaper, they're not doing maintenance. And so they're only doing the install. And so what we've found is that, you have leads come in, you're paying for the leads a lot of times in artificial turf. They're coming through digital sources or whatever they might be. You'll win some, you might lose some to a competitor, but then with our Fresh and Clean program, we can remarket to all of those leads regardless of whether we did the first install or not, because our competitors don't have that type of program.
Yeah. All right. And I'm guessing there could be hey, I'm doing maybe the front yard first and then I do the backyard later, or, I did this part, now I want a putting green, or again, those type of things where you can like stay in the mix, and that maintenance keeps you definitely there. So, no, I love that component. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited. So glad I've gotten to know you. And honestly, just selfishly excited to see a former FranCoach client about to kick off with Waterloo Turf in the North Dallas area here soon. But excited to see your growth. I love the fact that you guys have really built the support side first, rather than just, there's some brands out there that take a winged approach. And if you're wondering which brand, let me help you. They're not on the Franchising 101 podcast typically. So thank you guys for what you're doing with that. And as always, just appreciate you taking some time to hop on here with us today.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim.
Same. Thanks again to Lance Ingram and Tim Lovett from Waterloo Turf. Love talking to these guys. I hope it helps provide some valuable insight into the amazing possibilities and frankly, how many of them there are out there. Kind of why we have our team at FranCoach is to help people sort through all of this. Obviously, number one is to properly educate you to see if you should own one, but so many variables with all the different franchises that are out there. That's what we're here to help with. If you haven't yet, pretty please like, share, follow, subscribe, all of those things wherever you get our podcasts, our social channels, even our YouTube channel, which has podcasts, other videos, that has our Franchising 360 show, bunch of stuff there. When you are ready to learn a little bit more about franchise ownership to see if it's for you, reach out to our team. There's never any fee for our service. FranCoach.net is where you're going to find everybody on our team. Reach out today. Let us talk to you. Set up a call. We'll help you figure out how to create your better tomorrow. That's it for today, folks. We'll see you next week. Thanks.